Today's lesson is on data management, and we'll start by talking about statistics. So statistics is the study of the collection, organization, analysis, and presentation of data. Data are all the facts, the information that's collected for a specific purpose, for making decisions. For example, if there's a person who owns a shoe shop, the owner has to know what size of shoe is most often bought, what color of shoe is the most common, the style of shoe that's bought most often, etc., etc. And then that way the shop owner can order the shoes for his store accordingly. So data can be obtained using different ways, different sources. Most popular way, the internet, observations and measurements, newspaper, encyclopedias, and surveys. So when collecting data, the population, this is the group about which you are getting the information. If it's a census, it's conducted when data is collected from each member of the population. So like Canada does a census every few years. Another example, if you test game consoles made in a factory for defects, then all the game consoles that are made in the factory would be the population. If you test each game console, then you have conducted a census because you've collected data from each game console. However, a census, it can be costly, it can be time-consuming, difficult or impossible to complete. So it's only used when an issue is important or when the population is small. So when a census is not feasible or necessary, then data is usually collected from a small portion of the population, and that's called a sample. When the sample is chosen, the sample chosen is representative of the population. The data collection provides a valid conclusion. So for example, instead of testing every single game console, you would test, for example, 100 game consoles out of 1,000 made each day. That would be a sample. If those consoles tested, they represent the typical quality of consoles made in the factory, then therefore the conclusions of the data collection will be a valid conclusion. It is important when determining the appropriate size of the sample. If it's too large, the data collection could become costly or time-consuming. If it's too small, then it's not a good representation of that population. So it's a good idea to get a good sample size. Then when data is collected by doing, for example, a survey, it could be through the mail, by phone, personal contact, the results get usually organized into this tally chart. So for example, maybe this was a survey done about favorite color. The choices were red, blue, or green. Okay, a tally chart is done. So here, groups of 5, total of 10. So the frequency is 10. 5, 6, 7, 8. Frequency is 8. Here we have 5, 6, 7. So frequency is 7. The total frequency or the total sample size is 25. And then you can get the percent distribution by going 10 over 25, multiply it by 100 to put it into percent. All right, so 8 over 25, 7 over 25, and the total is 100%. All right, so again, this would be a sample because only a certain portion of the population was surveyed. If everybody was surveyed, that would have been a census. Several factors that might lead to problems with data collection. Bias. This is when the question influences responses in favor of or against the topic of the data collection. So for example, a person asks, don't you think the price of a movie ticket is too high? That person has a bias against the current ticket price, and the bias influences how the survey question is written. So again, use of language when asking the question. It could lead to give a particular answer. So again, if you ask, don't you think the price of a movie ticket is too high, that's kind of leading. It's the question is leading people to say yes. So a better way to ask that question would be, do you think the price of a movie ticket is too high, too low, or fair? Timing is important as well. When the data is collected, it could lead to particular results. So the example here is about winter tires. If a survey is conducted to find opinions on the need for a vehicle to have winter tires, the results of the survey may be different if it's conducted in August instead of February. Privacy is another potential problem. If the topic of the data is very personal, a person may not want to answer, they may not want to participate, they may even give an untrue answer on purpose. So in this case, anonymous surveys would be helpful. Like for example, they may not want to participate in a study on weight if they don't feel comfortable stepping on a scale in front of other people. All right, continuing cultural sensitivity, meaning that you're aware of other cultures, so avoid being offensive and asking questions that don't apply to that culture. So suppose you have a survey on the favorite method of cooking ham, and you asked, circle your favorite method, barbecue, bake, or fry. But that question doesn't apply to everyone because many people don't eat ham. So a question instead could be asked, if you eat ham, name your favorite method of cooking it. Ethics. Ethics dictate that collected data will not be used for purposes other than those told to the participants. Otherwise, your actions are considered unethical. So for example, you tell your classmates that you want to know their favorite snacks to help you plan your birthday party. If you then take that information to try to sell your classmates their favorite snacks in between classes, your actions would be unethical. Cost. The cost of collecting data must be taken into account. For example, if you're printing out questionnaires, you need to pay for that if you're paying people to collect the data. So sometimes the cost may be more than you can afford. Time. The time needed for collecting the data must be considered. So a survey that takes an hour to complete may be too long for most people, and that would limit the number of people that are willing to participate. All right, let's just take a look at some examples here, identifying and eliminating potential problems. Take a look at these examples, and then we're just looking at a potential problem that may occur and have an effect on the results. And then how could the problem be avoided? So a survey is conducted to find out if citizens think the local government should provide more money for youth activities. The question asked was, would you support an increase in taxes to create more skate parks? So the language in this survey question could be problematic because the question's emphasizing taxes and what citizens would lose, and that taxes are going to increase. It also downplays what citizens would gain by only mentioning skate parks instead of a variety of activities. So most people may respond by saying they wouldn't support it. So phrasing that question better would be, do you think the local government should supply more funds for youth recreational activities? Here, question or example B, a survey is conducted to find out the level of school spirit. Students are polled about their level of school spirit after the soccer team wins the championship. So in this case, timing would be problematic, right? Because it's done right after school spirit is high because they just won a soccer championship. So it's going to show a higher level of school spirit than if the survey was conducted at another time. All right, let's look at this example here. Kublu and Ernik, they're planning to open a shop in Saskatoon that would sell traditional Inuit crafts. To ensure Saskatoon is the best place for their business, they want to survey residents to find out how popular Inuit crafts are. Kublu knows that they would get the most accurate results if each household in Saskatoon is surveyed. So each household. But Ernick points out that it would be problematic. Explain why. The reason here would be the number of households would be too many. So they would have problems related to cost and time, especially if they're printing out and mailing those surveys. So a lot of cost there. The cost would be very high. And then again, if they're providing an envelope and stamp for each household so that they can return the survey, that would be additional cost. Time would also be another problem to print, mail, and then collect all the surveys. Antonia, this is another example, wants to find out if there is a relationship between household income and how much people spend on Christmas presents. Identify potential problems she may encounter and explain how she could deal with the problems. So here, culturally, Christmas may not be celebrated by all cultures. So the survey question, it has to apply to everyone. So an opening question for the survey would be, do you celebrate Christmas? And if the person responds no, then that person wouldn't have to answer the rest of the questions. Information about income and spending habits also would be very personal. So many people would be uncomfortable revealing it. So an anonymous survey would be appropriate. Use of language would also be important here. Instead of asking questions like, how much do you make? How much do you spend? Better way to ask questions would be, is the amount you spend on Christmas presents greater than your weekly income, less than your weekly income, equal to your weekly income? So better way to phrase the question. All right, here, explain why a population was surveyed instead of a sample. So here, to determine the average number of siblings of his classmates, Carlos surveyed each person in the class. So what he wants to figure out is the average number of siblings of his classmates. All right, so he could survey the entire population of his classmates to get exact results. Okay, and it's just his classroom, so it wouldn't take long or cost him anything. B, every 5 years, Statistics Canada conducts a census. One question in the survey is used to determine the ages of the people in each household. All right, so here it's a census. A census was completed because this question is very important because the government requires that data about the ages of Canadians so it can budget for services like daycares, schools, and senior citizens' homes. All right, here the student leadership team is planning a school dance. To attract grade 9 students to the dance, the team decided to collect data about the preferred music of the grade 9 students. The team set up in the hallway to collect the data. By the end of the day, it had surveyed 73% of the grade 9 students. So question A, why do you think the data were collected from a sample instead of the entire population? So it's probably not enough time or enough people available to ask every single grade 9 student. It would also require a lot of effort to find each grade 9 student, especially if there were absences. B, will the opinions of the sample likely reflect those of the population? Explain. It's a majority of the students. It was 73% that were asked. So it is likely that their opinions will reflect those of the entire population. Okay, this example, in each case, identify if data were collected from a sample or a population. Whenever a sample was used, explain if you think the conclusion would be valid. So in question a province considers banning cell phones in all of its schools. To determine the opinions of students on this issue, you poll each Dodo student in your school. All right, so that would be a sample because it hasn't taken into consideration all students of all the schools in the province. All right, you're only asking the students in your school, so that would be a sample. And that could be misleading because, or the conclusions would not be valid because if all the students in your school own cell phones, your conclusion would probably not to ban cell phones. But you have to remember, not every student in the province owns a cell phone. So it wouldn't be representative of the whole population. B, to determine which politician is expected to win the municipal election, every person over 18 and who is eligible to vote in this election is polled. That would be a population because all possible voters are polled. And C, to determine the average lifetime of a type of light bulb, 150 light bulbs were selected randomly from the production line and tested, so that would be a sample, right? Because not all light bulbs were tested. It wouldn't make sense to test every single light bulb anyway, because then all those light bulbs would be destroyed in the process, and then there wouldn't be any light bulbs to sell. So a fairly large number of light bulbs were tested, so that would give a good estimate of the lifetime of the light bulbs. And so therefore the conclusion would be valid. So next is working with data. First, we're going to look at mode and median. All right, so mode is the number or event that occurs most frequently. All right, and the median is defined as the middle number. So a median usually means middle, so you can remember median means the middle number. And both of these, you would arrange the data first from smallest to largest. Let's see, data is always collected with a specific reason, and different people collect different data. So here, like an example would be a car dealer who must know what is a popular color of car so that he can order one this color and put it in his showroom. So that would be, for example, the mode. All right, so here in this example, we have find the mode from the data below that shows the ages of children on a merry-go-round ride at an amusement park. All right, so these are the ages of all the children. So the first step you would do here is you would arrange the data from smallest to largest. So when we're doing this, it's a good idea, find your smallest number, and as you go through it, you would cross it out. So for example, 3 here is the smallest. Once you've written down 3, then just cross it off. Then you know you've already put down 3. Next is 4. Go through it and check for another 4. There's another 4. All right, and then you've put down the 2 4s. Continue, next 5. So we've got a 5 and a 5. All right, so you would just rearrange this data from smallest to largest. All right, now you would go through and look for the mode. The mode again is the number or event that occurs most frequently. So in here, we have 1 3, there's 2 4s, 2 5s, 2 6s, 1 2 3 4 7s, 1 8, 2 12s, and a 13. So the number 7 occurs the most. So the mode in this case would be 7, okay, because this number occurs the most often. To do the median, you would find the number that's in the middle. So you would go through and cross off. This is probably the easiest. So cross off to get to the middle number. So cross, 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 cross. And we get 7 as the middle number. So the median in this case is 7. The mode is 7 and the median was 7 in this case. All right, next is range. The range is a description of how the data is spread out. So to calculate the range, you just need to find the difference between the largest number and the smallest number in the data. So for example, we're looking for the range of prices paid for a variety of old baseball cards. All right, so these are all the prices of the baseball cards. So you're going to find the largest number. So you go through the numbers and find the largest number, which is 160. And then you're going to go through and find the smallest number. So the smallest number here is 25. All right, so your range is going to subtract 160 minus 25. So again, largest number, subtract the smallest number to get your range. So in this case, the range is $135. So the range of prices paid for the baseball cards is $135. All right, next is the mean. The mean is also the average. Mean and average are the same thing. So the average collected from any data is also called the mean. To calculate the average or the mean, you add up all the numbers in the data and then divide by the number of items. So let's say these are your marks. Let's say these are the marks you got on assignments. 68%, 83%, 77, 52, and 47%. So to get your average, you would add up all those numbers. Okay, so add up all of those and then divide by how many numbers there are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So add them all up, divide by 5. That gives us a mean of 65.4%. So therefore that means the mean or average of those marks is 65.4%. All right. All right, so in this example, find the range and the mean for the following set of numbers. All right, so for the range, all we have to do is get our largest number. So our largest number is 62, and then get the smallest number, which is 11. So our range would be 62 minus 11, which is equal to 51. That would be the range. Next would be the mean. So for the mean, that's your average. You're going to add up the numbers. I can show that here. So we're going to add them up. 35 plus 37 plus 11 plus 35 plus 20 plus 41 plus 62. And you would add that all up first. So I'm just going to put that into brackets. And then you would divide by how many numbers there are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you would divide by 7. All right, and the mean ends up to be 34. I'm just going to round here, 0.43. All right, so in this example, we're looking for the mode and the median of the following. So the first thing we would have to do is order this from smallest to largest. So I'm just going to go through and do that. So we have 2, 2, 2. So just you can cross them off as we use them. So we have 2, 2, 2. Okay, and then we have 4 and 4, 4, 4. And then we have 5 and 5. And then we have 8, 8, 8. All right, so I have ordered it from smallest to largest. So now the first thing we would do, let's find our mode. So mode is the number that occurs the most frequent. So we have 3 2s, 2 4s, 2 5s, and 3 8s. So the mode, we could say, because it's both 2 and 8, so we would say 2 and 8. It's also called bimodal because there's 2. The median, we have to find the middle number. All right, so just to get to the middle number, just start crossing off to get to the middle number. All right, so we end up with 2 middle numbers, 4 and 5. So anytime you end up with 2 in the middle like this, just get the average of them. So 4 plus 5, and then divide by 2. So 4 plus 5, which is 9. 4 plus 5, and then divide by 2, and that'll just give you 4.5. All right, so the median is 4.5. All right, let's do this one quickly here. Again, mode and median. So we're going to start by writing this out. So we have 1, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, and then 9. So we've written it out from smallest to largest. So the one that we're looking for first is our mode, the number that occurs the most frequently. That would be 6. It occurs twice, so our mode is 6. Our median, we're looking for the middle number. So again, go through. So again, we have 5 and 6. So our middle number would be, our median would be 5.5. So again, if you end up with two numbers and you don't know which one the middle number is, just add the two together and then divide by 2. All right, so in this question here, we're told what the mean is, the average is equal to 7, and we're missing one number there. So we know that the mean, you add up all the numbers. So we're going to add up all these numbers, but we know plus x, and that is giving us 7. So we know that the mean is equal to the sum and then divided by the number of numbers. All right, so in this case, we know 7 is equal to, I've just added up all these numbers already. So 61 plus x divided by, there's 10 numbers. So we just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so multiply 10 to both sides. That'll give me 70 is equal to 61 plus x, and then subtract 61 to both sides, and we get 9 to x. So the missing number was 9. All right, here we're given a set of numbers here, and we're told that the mode is equal to 4. The mode is the number that occurs the most. So we have 1, 2, 2 5s, 1 7, 1 8. So here the mode would have to, the x would have to equal to 4. It just makes sense to make sure that 4 is the number that occurs the most frequently.